Drop a pebble in the water, just a splash and it's gone. But there's half 100 ripples circling on and on, spreading from the center, flowing out to sea, and there's no telling where the end is going to be. Today there's a lot of buzz about going green, stories in the news and on the air about global warming, recycling, solar and wind power. Alternative fuels and water pollution are just a few of the hot topics that have been brought to the forefront. Most everyone wants to do their share to be more environmentally responsible. However, many of us feel overwhelmed that we won't make a significant impact or a big difference on these environmental issues. The Flood Control District and other local government agencies believe that you and your family can make a difference. It's like a ripple in the water.
Hello, I'm Betty Hollister, Public Information Manager with the Regional Flood Control District, and welcome to another edition of the Flood Channel. Coming up on today's Going Green show, we'll take a look at some of the things you can do at home that will have a positive impact on the environment, like the correct way to dispose of hazardous chemicals when cleaning out the garage. After that, we'll take you on a journey to see how just one tiny piece of trash can find its way to Lake Mead, our primary source of drinking water. And of course, we'll feature our Flood 101 and Pollution Solution segments on this Going Green edition of the Flood Channel. Welcome back to the Flood Channel from the beautiful Water Street Gallery in Henderson, which has on display some stunning photographs of the Las Vegas wash and wetlands. Taking care of our desert home is everyone's job. So the next time you want to toss some of those old chemicals and what could be hazardous materials from around the house, it's really important that you do it the right way. Carrie Ann, with a little help from a superhero friend, brings us a story. Look up in the sky, it's Superman.
Batman? Iron Man?
No, it's Go Green Guy. Faster than an eco-friendly car wash, more powerful than a flash flood, able to leak recycling bins in a single bound. It's Go Green Guy, champion of keeping it clean and going green.
I guess it's time to clean out the garage. Get rid of this old paint and fertilizer. What do you want to do with that old computer?
Stop! Hazardous materials must be disposed of properly. Did you know that just 1 quart of motor oil can contaminate up to 250,000 gallons of water? That's like polluting 7 swimming pools. Do the responsible thing. Take it to Republic Services Recycling. You can also take your old television or computer there. Just call the number on the screen and remember, Go Green.
Wow, that's an awesome message and great tips. Thanks, Go Green Guy.
Stop! Excess yard chemicals and fertilizers can wash into the street and storm drains, polluting Lake Mead. Lawn and garden chemicals should only be used at their manufactured recommended amounts. And why not try environmentally friendly products?
I'm on it, Go Green Guy. Thanks.
Stop! You may think you're saving money by washing your car at home, but think of all the water you're wasting. Plus, soap and chemical residue can pollute Lake Mead. Go to a car wash that uses recycled water and traps pollutants. Some other Go Green tips: drain your swimming pool using the draining port located in your front yard. Always follow water restriction guidelines. And always pick up after your pet. These actions can help protect our water supply. You could also help to protect the environment by notifying the flood district of clogged storm drains, detention basins, or washes littered with debris. This will not only help keep our desert home clean, but clogged storm drains can cause flooding. Remember, call the number on the screen and go green.
We're going to do our part to protect the environment and the quality of water for our children and our children's children. Thanks, Go Green Guy.
Thanks, Go Green Guy, and we'll be back with more on the Flood Channel from the Water Street Gallery right after this.
At a time when Southern Nevada needs to be water smart, did you know taking your car to a car wash saves not only gallons of water, but also traps all that dirt and other nasty pollutants? Washing your car in the driveway allows grease, soap, and oil to flow down the street into storm drains and onto Lake Mead, our primary source for drinking water. Do your part, wash smart, a clean car and a cleaner environment. This message brought to you by the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, a program of the Regional Flood Control District.
Ah, a beautiful green lawn. You crave it, you want it, so you fertilize and you water and 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 you fertilize and you water. But did you ever stop to think all those chemicals and all that water can run off your lawn, down the storm drain, and straight into Lake Mead, our primary source for drinking water? Water smart and follow guidelines for fertilizing your lawn. You'll protect our environment and it can save you money. This message has been brought to you by the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, a program of the Regional Flood Control District.
I'm Gail Fraser, the General Manager of the Clark County Regional Flood Control District, and you're watching the Flood Channel.
What should I do if I see illegal dumping?
If you see illegal dumping, you can contact the county or the city where you live, the health district, or the regional flood control district. It's called illegal dumping because there are laws against it. Each of our jurisdictions have ordinances on the book that make it a finable offense to dump things in our storm drains or in the desert. So if you get caught, you could get fined several hundreds of dollars. But what's more important, illegal dumping and dumping non-stormwater in our storm drains damages the Las Vegas Wash and Lake Mead.
Welcome back to the Flood Channel. At the beginning of today's show, we said that individual stewardship in protecting the environment is critical to save our water supply for future generations. Carrie Ann takes us on a journey that shows how polluting can have a ripple effect that impacts everyone.
This gum wrapper doesn't look like much, does it? People may think it's only a gum wrapper or a soda can, but with more than 2 million people living in the valley, multiply this trash by every person, and you can begin to see how polluting can harm our environment. Let's see the journey of this wrapper and how it got here. One tiny gum wrapper is discarded in the uppermost west side of the valley. It may seem innocent and harmless to most of you. After all, it's just one little gum wrapper, right? So how could that cause a problem to the environment and our water supply? Have you ever wondered where that harmless gum wrapper would end up after it's carelessly discarded? Or have you ever considered the effect it could have on our primary source of drinking water, Lake Mead?
It's the old adage, hey, it's only one soda can. But there's 1.7 million residents plus tourists that come to our town. So one can, if 1.7 million people thought that and did it, that's 1.7 million cans of soda that would go down the storm drains or in the streets. And so that would make an impact.
Well, the primary reason we see it as important is because anything that is dumped or discharged into a wash, into a gutter, or into a storm drain flows untreated to Lake Mead. And that's our primary source of drinking water, so we're very concerned about anything that would get into this water body.
You look at things in a small perspective, you would say, it doesn't hurt if I throw this in the garbage, or if I throw this in the gutter, or if I, let my oil spill down the driveway. It's just one person. But when you multiply that by 1,000 or 1,000,000, then you can see the cumulative effect. And the point of all that is it really starts with the individual, because nothing changes without individual changing the way they're thinking or the way they're behaving. So it's incredibly important.
As we implement our master plan, we are building so many more conduits that make it easier for the pollutants to get into the system. The inlets in front of somebody's house or business, it's a direct connect to the system and takes that water to Lake Mead. The system's there to protect people from the flood and reduce that flood risk to them. So it's important for them to not dump in there, to plug that, first off, so it works during a flood event, but also never to dump into there so that it gets to Lake Mead untreated.
Well, that's a very important message. It's important for all the governments, businesses, and residents to understand their role in protecting our environment. Anything that is dumped in the streets, in our desert, in our storm drains, all of this pollution can end up in Lake Mead. So it's important that they understand that. The chemicals they use, the fertilizers they use in their lawns can be washed back into the Lake Mead area. All the trash ends up in our washes out in the desert. We need to be we need to realize the impact it has on our environment.
We can't get complacent about our responsibility to protect the environment and to keep our waterways clean for the conveyance of floods. So we're going to be very diligent about making sure that you have a way to call us and let us know if you see any problems so that we can get entity staff out in the field and try to rectify it.
There are many ways you can help. Instead of being a part of the problem, you can be part of the solution. It starts at home with education, especially with our children, teaching them to be good and responsible stewards of the environment. The formula is easy. The more you recycle and throw away correctly means there is less waste and trash that can make its way to Lake Mead. And it's not just that harmless gum wrapper. Proper disposal of pesticides, fertilizers, and motor oil, and using commercial car washes, keeping storm drains clear, and disposal of pet waste are small things you can do at home to protect our water supply for our children and our children's children.
Like I said, it just seems like a tiny wrapper, but it's important for everyone, government, businesses, and residents, to understand that what gets dumped in the street or down storm drains can get washed through town and eventually end up in Lake Mead. The best way to stop pollution is to change people's behavior. The ripple effect can be significant if everyone does their part. Betty? Thanks, Carrie Ann. And we'll be back with more on the Flood Channel right after this.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones.
And we're busting people who pollute Clark County.
Hey, who are you guys? Sir, please step back. Hey, what are you doing?
Aha! Judged by your reaction, you don't like trash.
No. Sir, this is yours. We saw you dump it out of your car.
Well,
Sir, did you know trash can clog storm drains, cause flooding, and pollute Lake Mead?
Sir, is Clark County your home?
Yeah.
And you don't like trash in your home?
No.
Then why would you dump trash in Clark County? Don't trash Clark County. It's our home, too.
Jess, time for dinner, sweetie. Oh. Oh, what's up? Whoa. Oh, no. Yeah.
Stormwater and anything you spill into the street goes untreated into Lake Mead.
Whoa. Where am I now? Hey, Mom, my phone. Ew.
Help protect the environment. Brought to you by the Stormwater Quality Management Committee.
Who else works with you to help protect the environment?
Every government agency works to help protect the environment, and when we can overlap messages, we have even more impact, like our Don't Trash Clark County public service announcement that reinforces the Don't Trash Nevada campaign. An old proverb states that a picture is worth 1,000 words. If this is true, then these inspired images of the Las Vegas Wash, captured by Fred Sigmund, are worth $1 million. Mr. Sigmund, owner of the Water Street Gallery, believes the wash can be protected through changes in public policy and individual behavior. The Flood District agrees that the wash is a vital part of our environmental future, so keeping this water clean before it makes its way to Lake Mead is crucial.
Lake Mead is the primary source of drinking water for 25 million people when you look at California, Arizona, and Southern Nevada combined. It's important for us to really step up to the plate change our behaviors, and protect Lake Mead by picking up and not dumping into the streets and the storm sewers. Right now, the lake has dropped 100 feet. In the past, the solution to pollution was dilution. That's no longer the case. The case right now is for everybody to step up to the plate and take individual ownership in taking care of their debris, their trash, the fertilizing, the pet waste, everything else that can wash off and get into this Lake Mead, and not make sure it doesn't get there to the extent we can.
Well, it's our primary source of drinking water, and also for many of the communities along the Colorado area. And so if we're not doing our part, we can affect not only our own resource, but many other people's resource with water as well. Just to give you an example, I was recently in Mexico around the ocean, and they had some heavy rains. There's a lot of pollution that was washing up on the beaches, and when I asked about why they didn't have more laws cracking down on the tourism, they said that wasn't the problem. It was the residents dumping up in the mountains around the river, so when the rains came, it washed it into the bay, it came onto the shores. The same thing happens with Lake Mead. If we are the stewards of Lake Mead, it's a real resource. If we're not careful and we dump our pollution out there, that's going to impact us and everybody else.
Whether you believe that there is no global warming or there is global warming, we still need to be sensitive to do our part. You know, we're stewards of what we've been given here, and if we think of it in that light, we need to do our very best to protect our environment.
It's really, really difficult to change human behavior. So that's why us concentrating on the kids in school and telling them how bad it is to pollute, what it could do to our drinking water supply, how we want to protect this environment is so important that we continue to do that, because they listen, and that they can educate their parents when they're driving around and not throwing things out, or at their home and make sure the yards are clean and things won't wash off and they can pick up after the dogs. That's the only way I really see how you change human behavior. You start with the young ones who listen, and then they continue to carry that with them throughout their life.
Well, I think they've listened to the message from the Southern Nevada Water Authority, flood control, about not dumping in the streets. I think there's been a lot of good outreach as far as educating people. Here in Boulder City, we follow the drought schedule for watering our lawns. The other thing that Boulder City is kind of a leader in is recycling per capita. And we're actually now looking in ways to improve, even to more improve our recycling here in Boulder City. There are some other things we're looking at that we could do with our affluent water for reuse or for other things that would make it safer for the El Dorado Valley. We are participants. We understand our importance. We're very close to Lake Mead. We need to continue to be very careful on what's being dumped in our deserts around about us. Once again, I think Boulder City, we've taken a real interest in recreational uses here in Boulder City, and you know, understanding that water is a resource, that it's limited what we're going to have. Boulder City has also taken a real strong stand on green energy. We're dedicating a lot of land to solar for renewable energies right now, which is very important for the state of Nevada. Well, I think ultimately, that just means we're doing our job, our town. And I think especially when it comes to renewable energy and those type of things, it's a benefit for everybody. So obviously, you know, we like to see that you know, it's not just a closed community, that we're actually being part of the whole area in Southern Nevada and for the state.
You know, I think as time goes on, we're going to be more green. Let's face it, we need to, as far as the fossil fuels go, as far as conserving our water, we just need to be thinking about the future, because we're here now, but what about our children and our grandchildren and even our great-grandchildren? We need to do our very best to protect what we have now to make it good for them in ensuing generations.
It's important for us to work with other governments, the residents, the contractors, the private people, the private industries, all to protect this environment. We're here for a short period of time, but there's going to be future generations that are going to come. We want to make sure that this environment is as good to them in the future as it is to us today.
Yeah, I think everything we do, we need to realize we're protecting for our future generations. I'm a third generation here in Boulder City, and I'm glad that those people before me made good decisions about the decisions here in Boulder City and protecting our resources, our environment, our recreational resources here in Boulder City. So I think it's our duty to protect the environment for ourselves and also our future generations.
I think that being a city councilman is it's really been fulfilling to look out and see the residents of this valley and our community doing their part, and it really is satisfying because I believe for the most part residents are trying to do what's right as far as the environment goes.
The Las Vegas Wash is a vital part in our environmental future because it is the final link in the valley's water supply and affects the quality of life not only for today, but for tomorrow as well. The wash carries the valley's excess water, an average of more than 150 million gallons a day, through the wetlands and to Lake Mead, so keeping this water clean is crucial to all of us now and in the future. Maintaining the environmental health of the Las Vegas Wash is a goal of Fred Sigman, a champion of the wash who has been documenting its environmental impacts through photography for many years.
Well, I first began photographing in the Las Vegas Wash when I was a high school student at Bishop Gorman in 1970. At that time, my interest was primarily not in the landscape, but in the wildlife of the Las Vegas Wash, which is pretty much what I concentrated on until I graduated high school. So it wasn't until the mid-1990s, an almost 20-year absence from the wash, that I began to return to sort of re-photograph some of the places where I had once spent when I was in high school. The kind of photography I do is a blend of both a purely documentary mode of just looking at things as they are, but adding to that also a sense of the picturesque. That's the art part of it. The combination of both of these approaches to photographing a place like the Las Vegas Wash shows us that these places actually exist. But at the same time, they show us these places in a way that speaks something to the kind of an experience that one can have in the Las Vegas Wash. Well, one of the reasons why we opened the Water Street Gallery a year ago was to give artists opportunities to showcase their work, particularly those who have an interest in the environmental issues of the American Southwest. The photographic project that I have on exhibit was a project that I had determined to